Better Call Saul, season 6, part 2. Ah, Dave, I just want to say the symmetry in our pictures. If you're watching on YouTube, you have Lalo, I have Jimmy and Kim. Just really fantastic symmetry there. But yeah, season 6, episode part 2. Uh, the end is coming, and I thought the beginning of the second half of the season was just electric. Dude, I mean, like, this was one of those episodes of television where the hour is up and you're like, wait, the episode's over? Like, that couldn't have been an hour. It just is so propulsive
Yeah,
and really just Gilligan, like, at his very best. Just super, super love this episode. I'm assuming you had the same experience with this.
totally. Yeah, we're talking about episode 8 of season 6, Point and Shoot, which is a direct follow up, picks up immediately after
Hmm.
the end of episode 7, Plan and Execution, which served as our mid season finale. And man, I think it's just so effective. And when you compare it with the episode that follows, these two episodes have just been so effective and also very surprising for what has happened with the plot. We now have 5 episodes to go for the end of Better Call Saul, and we wrapped up several lingering plot threads and characters in these 2 hours now, meaning there's 5 episodes left to accomplish the most important things to the show, which is the Jimmy Kim relationship and the future black and white Gene Omaha, Nebraska scenes. So, which is really exciting because I think they just delivered. They just deliver with these, you know. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought that Lalo being gone with 5 episodes to go and Nacho being gone like 3 episodes into the season, you wouldn't have thought that would have been as effective as it is and has been. But that's where we're at, and it's just really exciting.
Incredibly exciting. And also, I think now that we get Lalo out of the way so early, which I want to talk a little bit about Tony Dalton and where he kind of ends up in the Breaking Bad Saul universe here. But now we have Lalo out of the way. I think we're going to get a lot more of that black and white post like Breaking Bad stuff than I originally expected us to. I thought maybe we would get like an episode or two of that. I think we might get that sprinkled in a lot more moving forward. I think obviously there's going to have to be something that happens between uh Saul and Kim, Jimmy and Kim in the next episode or two, because if anything, I think their relationship at the end of this episode, they seem closer than they have in a long time, but obviously we haven't seen the fallout of this. And Kim obviously going to be incredibly shaken. I assume Jimmy to be as well from this. I want to hear your thoughts on what you expect for them, but let's just talk about this episode first. I mean,
Mhm.
I was just so impressed with how this had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. Lalo had this plan, which I did not know this is where the plan was going. I didn't
Same.
know he
I
was
didn't pick up on
basically
it
me
that
neither.
quickly.
Yeah, basically using Kim as bait to draw Mike out to Saul's apartment to leave Gus pretty much exposed, knowing Gus
Lab.
was going to go to the lab to protect it in a way. Just like so brilliant, and I think highlights Lalo as just such a amazing villain for this show. The tone that Dalton was able to set by being so intimidating in his time as Lalo, but also like incredibly charming and charismatic. I think back to those scenes where he was like over in Europe and kind of charming the pants off the widow, and I was just like, man, this this is such a singular performance from Dalton. What were like your favorite moments from this? Because I just have so many that come to mind.
Yeah, like you said, it does such a good job of maintaining tension, despite the fact that like you're pretty sure that Lalo's dead at some point because he can't be on Breaking Bad, and you know Gus is gonna live, and you know Jimmy's gonna live. So it's like this, and Mike as well. So it's like despite all that, the show and the writing is just so expert in that it can ratchet up and maintain this tension and just kind of keep you on the edge of your seat. Yeah, I think the whole time where like Kim's going to do the job she's been set out to do, there's like a sense of dread that's like passed on from Kim to the viewer. And when they're at that when she's at that stoplight and she sees
Oh
the two
yeah.
police officers on her left, and like She wants to both ask them for help to save her, but also hopes they don't catch her in the act. It's like really great. And even
Yeah.
before that, when we're in the apartment and they both, Jimmy and Kim, both take turns pleading why they should not be the one sent to do the job and the other person
Mhm.
should do it, was like really awesome because like, they both get to be like their like slip in grifter lawyer selves, but you also know that they're doing it because of how much they care about their other person. I thought this episode
Exactly.
did a huge job of like really building up even further that Jimmy and Kim relationship
L
they have together, and now we're just gonna see like inevitably the pieces you assume fall in some way because there's not going to be able to come back from this, and
Yeah.
we know that Jimmy is going to become compartmentalizing shit out of this as we saw via Saul Goodman and Breaking Bad. So yeah, I think just really the whole lead up to when Kim gets caught and doesn't pull off the assassination. That whole lead up is like really amazing, and I think kind of left unexplained was Lalo figured out where the safe house was that they were, you know, Gus and Mike and everyone had bought up like this whole block. It felt like or close to it, and like making these tunnels between houses and stuff to keep them safe. And Lalo had sniffed that out in some way, and he knew where to send them. I was like, oh, interesting in the plot, but it just kind of builds up the genius that has been Lalo. You know, where like,
Mhm.
and because it's breaking, Better Call Saul, because it's like Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, they will take their time and be super meticulous with how they set these things up. Remember how long we spent watching Lalo stake out the lab from inside the sewer? You know,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
like the
incredible.
process of Better Call Saul is always so good. And then when you actually
Mhm.
see payoff via plot, it makes it all the more fulfilling and satisfying because you've earned everything.
Yeah, I think I'm just forgetting, but I do think there's a part where we see that he knows where Gus's house is.
Okay.
He doesn't know where the safe is, but I think he knows like where Gus goes home. But
Yeah, I
obviously,
probably
like
just
you said,
forgot.
the
It's been a month.
tunnels. Yeah, it has. But yeah, I thought that was great. And then you talk about like the act of love that is each of them trying to get the other person out of the apartment and just like, okay, I'll be the one to stay here with this maniac and you can go and be free and hopefully save yourself. Just like it fits so well. And then Jimmy, obviously he gets tied up, falling over and being face to face with
Howard.
Howard, yes. And I just thought that was like such a perfect Gilligan touch, like poetic in the most obvious way possible, making him like actually stare at the consequences of his actions is just like so well done. There's nothing he could do to look away. He just had to like lay there with him. Just thought that was fantastic. Um, yeah, and then you kind of get some like humorous moments, right? Kim gets taken in, and they're trying to figure out why she was there, who sent her, and she's like, "I'm supposed to kill you," and just points at the random bodyguard, not knowing that he's not Gus, and
Dressed
he's
up as Gus. I thought that was funny.
yeah, the guy's like, "What?" I thought that was really great, and then obviously all the stuff with Lalo and Gus at the lab was just really amazing and tension filled. And then classic Gus, you get the phone call to the Polos Hermanos
Yep.
employee with the bullet in his side, and he's so calm the whole time, but it just needs to be have surgery. Just really great. And we talk a lot about the performance of Mike in this show. Mike, I think the one thing about like doing a prequel with older actors is like
Mm.
if you watch any of like the Breaking Bad stuff, you're like, wow, Mike looks so much younger in these
Jonathan Banks is
episodes.
an old man now. No
But
question.
Jonathan Banks in this episode just like throwing 110 when he's like, I'm gonna take this off. You need to speak calmly and low, like just like so good.
Right.
And but he has this sense of like urgency and fear in him. Like
Yeah.
he's trying to get a handle on the
Well,
situation.
and then at the end, where he has to tell Jimmy and Kim like how things are
Yeah,
gonna go, and then before that, where like you can see kind of like the resignation. Then he's like, "Fuck, I need to go search Howard's corpse right now and grab his wallet and take off his wedding ring." It's like, it's like there's so much like I think like physical acting that Jonathan
yeah,
Banks really imbues into the character, and I think throughout the course of Better Call Saul to this point, and we should probably say this because it's very likely that we see very little of Mike and Gus for the rest of Better Call Saul. Narratively, there's very little reason to continue to see them. The cartel stuff has basically been tied off, and we're at the point, more or less, with them where they will
Mhm.
be when we meet them in Breaking Bad. Jimmy, we obviously still have to learn more about and see more things happen. But we've seen, I think, a more layers of Mike over the course of Saul. Gus, probably less so, I would say. However, this episode, I think, was a great episode for Esposito. You mentioned his call to his employee at the end, but also that scene in the lab when he's with Lalo and he kind of just dresses down Don Eladio to
Mm.
Lalo's, camcorder, and he can really pontificate. And we saw obviously
Yeah.
amazing speechifying by Gus, by Giancarlo Esposito in Breaking Bad. We've gotten less opportunity to see that here in Saul, you know, but I think that was still a great moment and a nice send. This is a nice send off episode, assumingly for Gus.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was really strong, and you get to see a side of Gus that you never really get to see in Breaking Bad. Really getting his hands dirty in that sense, having to kill Alo himself, having to kind of like figure things out and not have someone else like doing the grunt work, so to speak. Um, yeah, did you like the death for Lalo? Because he gets shot in the dark, and then the lights come back on, and he's dead. And in a sense, it feels right, but in another sense, like Tony Dalton just was so amazing as this character. It
Uh,
almost feels hard to not to see him die in the dark in a way.
yeah, I did enjoy how at the end he's like coughing up blood and drowning, and
Hmm.
he's like smiling, he's like laughing basically about the way he went out and who killed him and stuff, and like that all felt very on brand.
Right.
Honestly, though, watching it because it was so dark, I actually thought Gus missed because he pulled the trigger until it was empty and like definitely had a face of fear, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh fuck, Gus fired his last bullet, and now he has no way out. And like what's gonna happen? Mike's gonna come in as the cavalry and save him at the end. That's kind of where I thought was going. I
Me
actually
too.
didn't think that he pulled off the shots and killed Lalo the way he did. But
100% agree. That's what I thought happened. But yeah. So let's talk about Lalo real quick. In like the overarching scheme of Breaking Bad, where does he rank in terms of villains for you?
ooh, that's a good question. I think the number one has to be Gus Fring from
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, and
Hmm.
then number two, you know, it's probably it's either Lalo or I guess Todd Jesse Plemons.
Man, that's a good one. Todd
He's
is.
we're beyond Tuco. We're beyond
Mhm.
the early villains, and we're beyond the neo-Nazi guys at the end for sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's Lalo versus Todd,
I think
right?
so too. I think Lalo's clear number two to me,
Yeah,
and might even be pushing Gus because Gus, as much as he was like just like so menacing and such a force, like Lalo was so physical and just did things in so many different ways as a villain in the show. I mean,
right.
people literally thought he was dead, and he had a because he had a body double that he had been like planning for years and grooming for years with his
Yeah,
own teeth. It's like such a crazy thing, but like such a cool part of a villain. Just
sure.
really impressive.
I mean, in a sense, Mike is a villain in Breaking Bad,
True.
which factors in. Not a total villain, right? Obviously, when Mike dies, don't feel good; you feel bad. Obviously, when Vault
Hmm.
kills him, but the cousins also are they're just kind of goons. Basically, they're not well-rounded villains per se. So yeah, I think the Tony Dewan performance elevates it so much, but everything with Lalo has just I think been a kind of a sense of fear, and it was I think a really nice way to between Gus on Saul and Lalo on Saul, showing you more of sides of the cartel and the Salamanca specifically. Um, it's just done in a really effective way. But Lalo, I think, due to like the cunning and genius that they imbue in his character, that combined with the spectacular performance from Dolan, yeah, I mean, just really elevates him. I think Todd, I mean, the big Todd moments, like when he kills the kid on that train episode, right? And you just see, but he's just kind of a psycho, and like
Yeah.
Lalo's a psycho too, but like he's like a genius
Yeah.
psycho, so that probably counts more, right?
Yeah, and also I think it's just more fun to be with Lalo because villains also have to be someone that you enjoy being with in my book, and
Mm,
or at least like that. Maybe if you don't even enjoy, but like give you something to like want to spend more time with them. Todd, for as much as you like Jesse Plemons, I don't think he's a villain. I'm like,
right,
oh man, all those Todd moments, but
right.
Lalo.
Yeah. And we get the stuff when Jimmy has to save him in court, Mr. Guzman.
Yeah.
There's so much to Lalo over the course of
Yeah.
2.5 seasons. I think that's
Mhm.
all it was. But yeah, I mean,
Great stuff.
but like I said, I'm just so pleased with how effective his final moments were in these last two episodes because it's kind of no perfect, and we're still left with 5 more hours with Saul, which is so exciting.
Yeah, and there's something about every time he was interacting with Jimmy, you just felt uncomfortable. Like I think back to the episode where of season 4 where Mike has the sniper rifle on the room on the apartment, and just like how tense that whole scene is. Like it's just crazy the impact Dalton had in this role. So and definitely has risen his star immensely. So great looks. So now that we have 5 episodes left, any predictions? Anything that you expect or want to see?
Well, it feels like Kim's life expectancy has rapidly increased with Lalo
Oh yeah.
gone. I mean, there's no one left alive on the show who would you'd expect to kill her. So unless she dies in some accident or something, she's probably not dead. In our present days, future scenes, black and white Omaha scenes, right? So what does that leave? I think we're really going to see this relationship fray in some way, and whether we're going to lead up to a reconciliation and the post Breaking Bad scenes, who can say? But I'm really looking forward to seeing how this relationship survives or doesn't survive following this clear turning point in both their lives.
Yeah. Do you think Kim turns herself in?
That's a good question.
That's kind of where I'm leaning right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have a good prediction, but that actually sounds like it would track.
Yeah. Man. Emmy nominated Rhea Seahorn, has been active on Twitter and pushing articles and stuff. So definitely a worthy follow. Yeah, I think one of the things I would definitely like to see, and I don't expect to get it, but is like some sort of actual like emotional reckoning for Saul in regards to his brother's death. I think
Mm,
that's just we pretty much see after his brother dies that he just like becomes Slippin' Jimmy, right? And he
right.
just basically morphs into Saul, and it would be really cathartic, I think, for the audience to at least see him like have a human moment that's outside of Kim before the end of the series. I don't know if we'll get that, but that would probably be one of the things on my wish list for sure.
Yeah. And then of course there's the unknown of how we're gonna see Walt and Jesse, see Cranston and Aaron Paul
True.
on this show. I imagine it's only like a episode or part of a episode, but
Yeah.
is this a dream sequence, haunting of Jimmy? Is this a flashback in Jimmy's head? Are we going to see like a different side of some key moments in Breaking Bad? Or are we going to see a brand new scene that kind of adds context the way like the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan in the
Mm,
council chambers was in Kenobi, What kind of scene is it going to be exactly? I feel like it's going to be something along one of those lines, but
yeah.
what that actually is, they're not just going to do it just to do it. It's going to do something narratively in an effective way, and I'm just obviously looking forward to seeing what the hell that means. And then yeah, what is like the finality of the show, because this is going to feel like the end of both Saul and Breaking Bad
Yeah.
because of how intertwined these series are. So, what kind of note are we left with Jimmy and perhaps Kim too? I don't know, but really can't wait to see it end.
Yeah. I mean, Vince Gilligan, one of the best TV creators out there right now. So be checking out Better Call Saul.